Okay. So last time we played, you'd arrived at Moyag's lair, deep, deep beneath the ocean. This place over the thermal vents that was made of solid water. You'd had an encounter with some weird red jellyfish that you thought, you know, even though they'd float around peaceful enough, had you know, something unpleasant about them. You'd made your way through past some anemones, and then anemones.
They were certainly enemies.
Indeed, they were.
Mm. And then through into a room that had a weird tree-like structure that, when you interacted with the fruit on it, seemed to have an effect on the storm above. At the very end of the last session, you'd made your way through what had at first appeared to be an empty room until there was some sort of mechanism on the wall that you'd destroyed, and into a sort of side room where you'd worked out a pattern, and this sight had greeted you of a humanoid creature surrounded by sort of metal and other structures, and also a large number of fish with arms and rays and other creatures sort of circling around you, and that's where we'd left off. So you arrive in the room and you're sort of greeted by this sight. Blarks, what's your reaction?
To gear up to charge.
What are you looking to charge at?
Ah,
The world in general?
the world in general. The kind of creepy looking dude thing.
Okay, the creepy looking dude looks like he's restrained.
Well, I'm only gearing up to charge. I'm not going to charge yet. Just yet. Give it a second.
Scrapper, what's your first thought on seeing this room?
Um, Mainly just curious. Is it moving at all, or is it just staying still?
It's sort of it's moving but not very fast. Like it's sort of just floating, and you can see it's sort of it's sort of got its arms up as sort of far as away, and it's every now and then it's sort of fending off one of the fish, but it's not moving very fast or very it's not like thrashing about.
Did it regard us the moment we went through to see him?
It did. The things in there have sort of. They're still paying attention within there. The figure in the suit sort of fixes its gaze upon you. Ellendar, you feel it first, but then the rest of you sort of start to feel a sort of pressure behind your eyes, and you all start to get a mental image. First off, you see a fairly vivid, detailed image in colour of a boat and a crew, but it's a strange-looking boat. You only identify it's a boat by sort of how it's in the water, and the figures on the boat are wearing sort of diving suits like the figure in front of you, and it's an odd material that sort of shines like bone. That image holds in your mind for a couple of seconds. Until it flashes out to what appears to be an image of a dive. This guy's surrounded by the fish that sort of surround him now. You get the sense, you get like an emotional component with him. You get like a playful thought. But then the next image, and this one's got more of a feeling attached to it, is you get a glimpse of something darker sort of seizing the figure in the suit and dragging them deeper. You only get a couple of sort of flashes of it. You can't sort of see exactly what the captor looks like. But the next image you get the sense of is this creature being chained up, and the fish that it had been playing with earlier are now hostile towards it. It looks like they're under the influence of whatever has chained it here. The final two images that it projects into your head are not in the same sort of detail. They're in sort of black and white and are far less rich in detail. But you get the image. The first image you get is the three of you sort of fighting off the captors around it and unchaining it. Until the final image shows the three of you and the creature in the suit all facing off against a larger figure that you think might be Moyag.
Interesting. It's a really interesting feat this guy's got to be able to do that. So I guess that paints a pretty obvious image of what he wants. I'd say we get him out.
In that last image, we're facing just this like shadowy thing in the depths. There's no real sort of indication of what exactly it is.
Well, you get you can't sort of identify it straight away, but you get the image of something with sort of tentacles and these large sort of clawed arms, and somewhat strangely, it looks like it's wearing a diving helmet, like an old-fashioned diving helmet on its head. It's got it's got a degree of something you recognise as human in it. It's got sort of you can't make out much of its body, but it appears to have some sort of like breasts, and its arms are jointed in the way a human's arms are jointed. But you can't tell if it's imitating a human or if it's was human. You can't really tell that. But it's not a great image of whatever it is.
This sounds potentially terrible.
I vote for charging.
From my train of thought, it's just like if we free the guy, then we face off against the thing with the guy. In my mind, option A leads in option B. It's like a chain of events. So if we don't free the guy, we might not have to fight the big thing.
Oh.
I got a feeling that thing's probably going to fight us regardless. That's just my thoughts anyway, because from what we've been hearing about this Moyag, he hasn't exactly been, what's the word, benevolent?
Yes, they've also described it as a god. I don't know if you've fought a god before. I haven't, but from all accounts, it's a terrible thing to do.
There's always many creatures that are going to think they're gods, but I'm pretty sure they all bleed just the same.
We're also kind of in its lair. I don't know if fighting a thing in its lair is generally the best idea.
So what, you think we should just leave him here to his fate? No, he's left. We just lost Red.
I don't even know if he's still alive, honestly.
He gave us those. Didn't you see those visions? I mean, they didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, but I mean, can you see him? If it's still even a person, how the hell is he breathing?
Hmm. Yeah, wait for Red to get back then. Because I'm actually thinking of just trying to interact with him now.
So, just as an aside, I don't want to be attacked by manta rays.
Oh, right, yeah.
The big ones feed on squid, don't you know?
Oh, it'll be fun. Fun.
I don't know, how's your crowd control?
I can't speak to. I don't know how. I don't know. I could gravity smush them into calamari. No, wait. Sorry, I'm calamari. Gravity smush them into steaks.
Sorry about that. Firefox decided to crash on me.
Yay,
Isn't that nice?
Firefox. It's only gotten better.
I swear it's eating more memory these days.
Yeah, it is.
Trying to compete with Chrome on the eating all memory front.
Yeah, so right now it's Elendar and I are sort of discussing whether or not we should actually help him and take him with us because he thinks that that thing is why Moyag's going to be hostile towards us.
Well, it's
So-
entirely your choice. The fish around it, they've noted your presence, but they aren't immediately like charging you or you off just yet. But you are only in the doorway.
Well, you guys saw the same thing that I saw, right? I mean, the ships, like that ship that he was on, him and his crew diving in, they're getting pulled under. Did you all see the same thing I did?
I saw a call to arms.
See, Blaz got the right idea.
But you see a call to arms in like, you know,
Toast.
pictures of clouds, toast, yeah.
Toast. No, I mean, I'm not one for leaving a person here to the depths, especially if your air supply's limited.
Well,
That's
the
the
sense you
thing.
get that this guy's been here for a bit.
Yeah, I'm
Like
not
you
even.
don't. He's not been here like 10 minutes. He's been here longer than that.
I'm not
Yeah.
entirely convinced the guy's even still alive.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, you can't. What, he gave us these images when he was dead? That doesn't sound right. Besides, it looks like he's still moving.
Stranger things have happened. I mean, heck, this entire place, we're in an underwater castle made of water. If that doesn't make sense, there's even a tree growing underwater. That makes no sense.
That's causing storms. Yes, I know. I was there. I know.
Yeah, I know, but having a dead guy give us telepathic images. On the scale of 1 to 10, this entire place is on about a 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I actually do want to help him out. But if you don't think so, then okay, we'll move on then.
No. If you want to do it, I'm going to go over there, go back down the hallway, and make sure the enemy doesn't start growing legs and coming after us.
Okay. Blogs, just in case those manta rays come after us when I'm trying to get this guy out, can you just give me a bit of cover, please?
Of course.
Okay,
With
so
With your axe.
with his axe. Yep. And he has my bow.
Okay.
My axe.
Yeah, I've got some tools on me, so I can always try to at least get him out. Because I've also got lockpicks as well, but I don't really have lockpicking as a skill yet.
Okay, so you're gonna approach him.
Yep.
Okay, so as you sort of move closer to it, the fish on the bottom, the ones with arms, sort of steel themselves against you. You come sort of crawl, and you sort of see some of the rays sort of just move in front of him and just sort of hold there floating. They're not attacking you just yet, but you're still quite a distance away. Like you're not within reaching distance of anything. How do you react to that?
I pretty much just slow down as I see them doing this, and then I point my harpoon gun towards one of them. I'm not going to fire yet,
Okay,
just pointing it.
the one you point it towards sort of scatters out of the way, but the armed fish below you see them sort of start to arc up and sort of seal themselves and puff up. One of them actually literally puffs up. You sort of start seeing its chest sort of puff up with spines like a puffer fish.
Really doesn't want me going near him. Well, everything else has been hostile, so this is kind of normal for me at this moment. Um, hmm.
Elendar, you've headed off to another room. What are you doing?
So I've got the fruit from the underwater tree. Plucking the fruit from the underwater tree seemed to make the outside maelstrom kind of weaken, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it grew quieter. The sort of dull roar that you'd heard in the background started to abate, but it's sort of, once you plucked it all, it sort of settled from the noise it was making into a sort of duller but not gone away, and it doesn't seem to since then have dropped any further.
I don't suppose there's any way to, considering we first entered this place by pushing through this sort of wall that was kind of there but not really there. Can I kind of like feel around the walls around near where the tree is to see if there's any sort of like bit where I could kind of just push my way through? Because from the sound of it, a thermal vent was quite close by.
So the thermal vent that you could make out, and I'm just going to go back a map here. Where's that map gone? And why is that doing that? I've lost my map. Here it is. Right. So this is the room where Scrapper and Blargs are, and here's the tree back here. You can see through this wall here a sort of dull red glow behind the phosphorescent life forms in there. You think that's where your vents are.
Right, and that's
In
kind
terms,
in the direction of where the other anemone was sort of planted itself in front of the other way out of the previous chamber.
the anemone you killed was here. The other one was sort of about here.
Yeah, okay. Hmm.
You can check along this wall if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll sort of push against it, see if the water gives way at any point.
So you sort of feel your way along it sort of carefully, feeling and tapping areas with your fingers and the suckers on your fingers. You can sort of feel them, the sensory nodes on them over different parts of the surface. And you do find one spot that appears to be sort of softer than the rest. And you can find that if you sort of put your hand on it and into it a little bit, you can sort of move it around on the wall. Like you can sort of drag it around within the wall from where you are. It's down about here.
I might mess around with that and see if I can sort of push it around, mold it around to get like the biggest possible gap.
Right, so you start to sort of move around, and you get it sort of in front of you and start to manipulate it, and you find you can sort of drag it open a little bit by applying sort of a steady force to it. As you open it a bit, your vision clears into the next room, which is in here, and in it you can see thousands of sort of eels. Like it's the room just beyond it, you can just see all these eels sort of floating around, and they've all got it, it's dark beyond the room into the spot you're looking at. And you can see, you can feel the sort of electric currents along your tentacles of the eels within the room. So you can sort of feel the force, you can see these eels sort of swimming around, but the sheer mass of them is blocking your vision from seeing within there further.
Yeah. I'm just going to observe it for a bit because I'm just like, electric eels underwater, or some form of electricity underwater. That's going to end terribly.
So you sit there, observing them for a moment, and you can feel the sort of current. But the sense you really get is there's something else in there. You think you can't quite see it, but just from the way the eels are moving around, you think there's another presence within there. It's not big enough to. It's not big enough to be Moyag from the vision that you'd got earlier. It's something else.
And the gap in the wall that I've kind of prized open, is that enough for me to stick my head in and have a look around, or is it enough to potentially swim through?
You think that if you worked it a bit more, you could probably get it big enough to swim through.
But it's kind of the moment I let it go, kind of snaps back shut.
Yeah, you have to apply constant pressure to keep it open to the level that you've got it at.
I'll let it snap back shut and sort of walk back around towards where the sea anemone room was.
Okay. While you're doing that, Scrapper, Blargs, these things have just sort of steeled themselves and look like they're ready to stop you. What do you do?
Blogs, there's some fish in my way.
Alright. I have an idea.
You know what to do.
I do, but I have an idea.
And what's that idea?
I'd recommend getting back.
Okay,
Slightly.
I step back a couple of steps.
I would like to try and throw my Christmas candy at them. Which, I mean, the thing that was possibly explosive. In the hopes that it somehow explodes. And if it doesn't, hopefully they won't realize what I've done.
So this is the ceramic sphere that you found a couple of rooms ago?
Yes.
Oh, no.
That was the one.
Okay. So you sort of pull out the spheres and you sort of start to twist it, and suddenly you get like it's not so much an image as before, but it's like an oh god feeling from the presence in the room, and you've got this image in your head of of an explosion, but it's too late for it to stop. So you sort of twist it and throw it directly within there, and you you see it sort of float through the water for a second, and you see the thing in the suit just sort of start trying to swim back and swim away from it after you've thrown it. And then when it realizes it can't get real far, it sort of puts its big gloved hands over its head and its eyes to shield itself. It detonates, and first it starts as a fairly slow detonation before expanding quicker and quicker. And you see that the water within it just begins to disappear until there's this sort of vacuum bubble that expands for a moment. It's only affecting the water within it, so where it sort of overlaps the chains and everything within it, the chains and all that are not disintegrating. But you see this bubble of desiccation expand into a sphere about into sort of a 3 or 4 meter radius. It expands into this sphere of dryness, and the fish that were within it, the things, you see them sort of drop down dead to the bottom, and the ones with arms sort of reach back, and you see the big guy sort of coil back. Once the detonation stops, though, the water suddenly rushes back into the desiccated area, and just you feel the room become incredibly turbulent. You notice all the sediment and all the gunk off the walls sort of flare up and move into this imploded sphere, and your vision's gone for a second, and it's all churned up, and you realise that part of the churning is the parts of the fish guardians that were within there. As it sort of clears, you can see the guardians of the creature and the thing sort of scrambling to try and get away from the room and get away from it. You see you took a chunk out of the wall, which is slowly reforming, and the big guy's sort of still in there, just holding his arms to his face, and you're getting this confused emotion of it, and all these images of like you get an image of a desert, and you get an image of of like sand, and all these confused images flying with at you. But the guardians don't want to stick around. The ones that were still guarding it sort of are trying to scatter. One of them rushes past you very quickly, and Ellendale, you see like a ray just swim past you like a shot, while still others escape out of the hole in the wall that closes up behind them. And the big guy just sort of sits there with his gloves in front of his face until eventually he sort of brings him down and just looks at you from within his helmet.
Perfectly to plan.
I was expecting an image of him holding a sign saying, "What the fuck?" So basically now it's clear after all that.
He's sort of just sitting there, and you can see his sort of hands in front of him. He's trembling a little bit because he's just like, you get the impression that these were his explosives.
Ah, right.
And he's just pretty much thinking, "You crazy fuck."
I placed my hands on his shoulders just to try to reassure him that, yeah, you're safe.
Yeah, and he's sort of like, he's not recoiling from your touch or anything, but he's still just thinking, "What the fuck?"
Yes, don't mind Plugs. He does this sort of thing. We're used to it now.
He flashes you an image of like a dog foaming at the mouth.
Simply just chuckle. Alright, so he's still chained up, isn't he?
He's still chained up.
Alright. I'm gonna see if I can find any sort of pieces that I can unscrew with my screwdriver to get the chains off. Either at the source or at his cufflings.
So you look sort of around how he's attached. The main thing he's attached to is he's chained to a weight down at the floor. It looks like a massive coral that's been, the chains have been attached to. He's also held in the other direction by this sphere up above him, which sort of is floating up at ceiling height. It's quite buoyant, so it's the force of it's holding him in place. You identify a couple of points where you can detach it with a bit of work. I'll get an intellect roll from you to perform that, just because you are trying to operate tools underwater. It's probably difficulty 3.
Alright. Intellect roll, put a point of effort in.
Mm-hmm.
Really now? A 3?
3. So
Jesus.
you sort of work at the chains, and whether it's the fact that you're operating, the pressure's getting to you, like, you can't seem to get at it, and you can't seem to free him. Blargs, would you like to try anything?
So can I just try and smash the coral that he's stuck into?
I'll get that's probably difficulty 4 strength roll.
Either that or
Alright.
chop the chain.
I'll put a point of effort in.
19,
Dang.
of course. Of course, the brute way goes fine.
Of
So
course.
you swish sort of through the water, and you look at Scrapper fiddling, and you sort of just push him out of the way and bring your axe through. Scrapper, you get the image from the guy chained up of the rabid dog again. But then Blargs just comes through and smashes the chain holding him on, and he sort of works his way free out of the ones you've got down there. And Blargs, you come through with the backswing and slice off one of the ones holding its arms. And once he does that, he sort of starts ripping the chains off him and running away. Sort of getting his way out.
I'm just
And you see
thinking,
him-
you're not wrong.
He sort of swims away from the chains a bit and then sort of turns back to face you. And you get suddenly a clearer image in your head of the giant presence, and he just gives you a swim fast image, and you get a sort of flash in your head of all too brief a second of that. Before
Hopefully.
it goes away.
Didn't see that at all, I don't think. So I
It
get
was
a
only
glimpse of what, a white grid? I didn't see anything.
well, I can. You
It must have taken a while to... I guess it hasn't
Possibly.
loaded yet for me, though. Oh, there we go. Oh, gee. Okay. Yep. Got it.
Okay. Elendar, what would you like to do? You've just seen a giant ray. You've heard the sort of detonation from the other room, and you've seen a ray sort of shoot past you, getting out of the road. You sort of get the sense that something's happening on the other side of the wall, the one that you had been looking through, but you can't really see through it without fiddling again.
Yeah, I'll try and get back to where they were, considering that's probably more noise than I was expecting to hear underwater.
So you get back in there just as you see the big guy sort of swim away, and you catch the tail end of his image of what it was, and also you get the sort of flea image from him.
Well, that conflicts. He said we were going to face down this thing. Well, he thought we were going to face down this thing.
I think it changed when Blogs decided to use that device. You probably heard it from in there.
I think
Well,
I
you
heard
did-
it, and
You did
From-
find 2 of those spheres.
yeah, I think from what I can see of it, I'm glad I wasn't in the room when that happened.
Oh yeah, those fish those fish got in the way, and I asked Blogs to deal with them, and he did. It was quite effective.
From the looks of it, you did more than that. I wouldn't have thought it was possible to strangle a fish at the bottom of the sea, but you did. Oh no, suffocate,
well-
that's the word.
Well, it actually caused a pocket of air. Of course it sort of died of asphyxiation.
Right. Anyway, so wait, are we following this guy?
I'd say it's good that we leave, yeah, because obviously he thinks there's going to be something coming to investigate this. I'm saying we should at least relocate to another room away from here.
Hold up, I have an idea. So we know what those things do now. I have an idea. I found a little crack in the wall where I think there's a thermal vent.
All right, show us.
We can still get the Garaland before we get out of here.
Excellent, let's go.
Okay, what I'm going to do is you're now on a timer, so I'm going to get you to all roll initiative because you stirred some shit up.
I'm sure we did stir some shit up. 16.
Dang.
Ugh.
Okay, Barks, where's your... There we are.
12.
Okay, so Scrapper, you're first. The big guy's sort of there with you. He's, you're both sort of on top of things, so you'll act, then he'll have an action. He doesn't know what you're currently trying to do.
Yeah, can't really tell him, but I sort of just take the jar out and then point to just basically get Elendar to show us where this wall is and ask Blogs to bring the other sphere. So I'm just going to head straight over to wherever Elendar points.
Okay, so Elendar sort of points you out of the room to the soft spot on the wall, which he sort of rushed back over and located with his hand again. He sort of has it, he's got it there, but he's not doing anything with it because he's waiting for you. The big guy sort of looks at you and then points into the room, into the wall that you're indicating, as if to say, "Is this where you mean?" But then he sort of points. He points where Elendar is, and then he points to the sort of further along the wall. I'll bring you back to a map where where you think the vents exactly were. You can't move that soft spot there because it's you tried, it wouldn't go too much further. But Elendar's about here.
Yep.
And the big guy points there, and then he points here. Here.
All right.
As if to say, where are you trying to get?
Pretty much wherever Elendar says the vent is coming through, I basically point right there. So I'm guessing probably just, I don't know, here or something.
Okay, he sort of nods and sort of swims back as you do that. Elendar, you get the sense that there's something going on the other side of the wall, but you're not quite. Your attention's divided currently. Blargs, what are you going to do?
I think I'll just follow and hang out and look on confused.
Okay, so you swim into here somewhere?
Yep.
Okay. Elendar, it's your turn.
I swim my way over to where I found the little gap in the wall, try and begin to try and prise it apart, and I kind of mentally, telepathically think at Blargs, just like, so there are many eels in here. If your thing does exactly what it did, if your other sphere does exactly what it did before, throw it in there, because I think that's where the thermal vent is, except I don't want to deal with eels.
So you sort of force the gap open and think all that at Blargs, and at the second you start sort of forcing it open, you can feel activity on the other side. You think they're onto your presence. Scrapper, it's your turn again. Now, you can see Elendar trying to force this hole open, and you got the thought that he's sent at Blargs. What do you do?
Well, I first look in. What do I see? Like, from
You look
whatever
in there
crack's
and you
open.
see like a massive eel sort of moving, and you can see some of them are sort of coming towards the hole. They're sort of rushing towards it, and they all seem to be moving in unison, like as a school, not just like individually. They're all sort of moving as a school, trying to rush through the hole.
I'm going to point the harpoon gun straight through the hole, and if they get too close, I'll fire.
Okay. The big guy has sort of shaken up and he's sort of bracing himself. He's unarmed, but he sort of, just darts back and grabs one of the chains. He sort of swims back through the room and comes back with one of the chains and starts sort of holding it there, ready to fight anything that comes out. Blargs, as you are sort of swimming in the room and you can see through the hole, you can see the eels rushing towards you. What do you do?
Well, I guess I'll follow the plan and throw the other one.
Okay, so to get the thing through the hole, it's probably it's probably a difficulty 4 speed roll.
Oh,
Do anyone can help in this regard, or no?
How would you assist that?
Yeah, try. I would say push the harpoon gun onto a side that Alandar's not pulling. See if I can make the hole a little bit wider for him to throw it through. Maybe.
You're probably too far back to assist that way.
Yeah, okay, I can't really do much then.
So speed roll difficulty 4.
For a point of effort in.
Oh god.
God damn. No.
Which is when I re-roll it.
Best that you do.
A point of experience. God, I have so much experience from this. From my terrible, terrible rolls.
Oh my god.
Much
15. There we go.
Just to clarify, if he does a reroll, does he spend any any pool points twice, or just the once?
Let me
I
check.
think it's just the once.
I
Like, the
think
effort's
it's
already in there. It's just the result that's re-rolled.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. Yeah, it's just on the first thing, unless he's trying to spend more on a second roll. So, you see Blarg sort of wind back, which what looks almost like a perfect baseball pitch, even though he's in the armor. And you see him sort of throw it, and it sort of slips out of his hands, and you see it sort of tumble over and over, really slow in there. And even though the Zorzich is wearing a helmet, you just get this image in his head. You just see him project this image in all your head of someone like swatting at the ball. And Blargs, you sort of reach forward as you see it sort of moving and starting to, you sort of see it start to change color as if it's about to detonate. And you just reach forward and slap it forward, slapping it through the hole into the room.
Punch the grenade.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that doesn't go any badly.
And Elendar, from where you are sort of holding the hole open, you sort of see it start to detonate as it goes past you. You can see the sort of area around it start to open as it moves through.
Oh no, I let go of the hole the moment I see that happen. I'm just like, I do not want to get caught in whatever that is.
Well, you see it sort of go past you as it sort of gets big, and just as it goes past you, you let go of the hole and push off the wall. Until suddenly behind you, you hear this, you sort of see it start rippling through the walls and start eating through where the hole was that you just had open. And you hear this like zaff noise, and this noise as all of the you hear all the eels just sort of start writhing around in there and swimming and chewing up into turbulence, and then it just gets into the full detonation and the implosion, and it eats through the wall next to you. So this wall here next to you is pretty much, maybe not that much gone.
I was gonna say, like, holy shit, that would have been a bit damaging.
There's a big hole in the wall here, and a whole bunch of dead eels on the other side. And what you see within there is not just eels, but you also see two of these also dead on the floor, and starting to just sort of float up as the water's rushed back in.
Oh god, Blarks, you killed the mermaid.
What? Huh?
I think I can forgive me.
Oh dear. Okay, those things look freaky.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
You
Oh
sort of
shit, we
point
killed
at
his
them,
kids.
and the thing, and the dude in the suit sort of looks at you and shows you a flash of like a human, and then a flash of that.
These one's human?
And he sort of flashes back to you that image before of rushing, like, he's going, let's
okay.
not dwell on this.
Okay, what were they guarding? Can you
So
see in there now?
you can see in there that what it was guarding, and this hole that you've created has gone all the way up into the roof as well. But you can see within the next room, which is sort of past here, there's still sort of remnants of the wall. But within the next room, you can see the volcanic vents.
Okay, go.
You got the jars.
Yep, I'm moving.
So you can feel the heat. There's intense heat coming off of this room, but you're all within your protective gear. So you're all protected from it. There's a vent sort of there and one over there. And around the edge of it, there are these spidery, blue sort of spidery things sort of scuttling and moving around, but you can see that they are all slathered up the side of these vents is a sort of mucousy, membraney stuff, and it's the Garrelan.
All right. I go up there and with both jars collect as much as I can.
So you sort of rush within there and sort of start scrabbling away at it and packing it into jars. While this is happening, though, Blargs, you get the sense that something's approaching in the from where the other room was, and you can feel a disturbance beyond this wall. You think there's something coming from there.
Oh, good. Fun times. I'll move out to sort of move to the edge of this room and the other room. And
There is a hole in the roof there.
Oh, okay. I will go look at the hole.
Yeah, make sure the way's clear, I think.
Yeah.
So when I'm done, we're darting. We need one for us and one for front, so I'm collecting as much as I can to fill both jars.
So up above you, Blargs, you can see a large number of some sort of turbine mechanism, and it's sort of Scrappy. You look up and you can see there's an inlet above you. So you think whatever's above you was taking energy from the next room over. You can also see Scrapper from where you are. You can see some of the roots of the this structure out here is sort of moving over into the thermal vents and then running up through the roof. So you think it's all connected?
Ah. Well, that would explain probably the storms. There's probably more than one of those trees if the roots keep going on and on.
Well, they sort of go. You can see them go into the vents and then up to the top again.
Right. Okay. Righto. Okay. I pretty much just keep going because I'm not wasting any time.
Okay. So, Elendar, you can also see these sort of turbines and things up above you.
Hmm. Are these turbines currently spinning, or is there anything?
They are, they're spinning sort of thing, and it looks like they're pushing they're pumping something up into the roof. You think this might be powering the remainder of the storm.
Is there something I can see in there that can jam the turbines at all? Like, is there a little strip of the turbine where I could try and jam something in there? Hopefully.
Uh, you can see where they're whirring up there. You could jam something in there if you had a weapon or something.
I've got spare weapons.
No, I've got something I was probably never going to use.
And what's that?
I want to jam the summoning staff in that.
Oh!
It won't activate it, but I'm not summoning any ultra-terrestrials here. That would be a terrible idea.
Okay.
Okay, so to get a decent jam in there, it's probably a strength check. You'd have to swim up and then jam it in there with some force. So to jam it in there, it will probably be a difficulty. It'll probably be difficulty 5 strength check to like wedge it in properly, like to get it into position and then just stop a turbine. Otherwise, it would just bounce off. So difficulty 5 strength.
Would it be more effective if I had something heavier?
It would take less force if you had something heavier. Yes.
Nope, summoning staff. Alright. I'm going to spend a point of effort because this is going to be hard.
Difficulty
It's
4.
difficult. Get Blogs to help.
Alright.
Bugs, you can assist if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll assist some muscle.
You're going to need
Okay.
to assist me,
Oh,
maybe.
God.
I only just failed that too.
Ah.
I'll spend an experience. Because I don't want to fail. Come on. Dice, save me.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
right.
13.
So you just sort of swim up and Blargs, you sort of push underneath him to get him up in there, and you hear him. You sort of see him up there, and he sort of slips through your fingers as he goes above your Blargs from his tentacles, and he jams it in with almighty force with both hands and pulls his sort of suckers off it and just sort of holds it there. You feel the turbine sort of buck around in your hands as it catches on the staff, and you sort of stop it and hold it, and the turbine sort of resists against you before you hear an almighty snap within there, and you pull the staff back, and it's sort of cleanly snapped in half, and you think you're done for a second. But then you hear, in the turbines up of it, you hear sort of dunk, dunk, as the half of the staff that has snapped off has been sucked through the whole system and sort of ripped it to shreds. Scrapper, you're on the other end of it, and suddenly you feel this sort of burst of shrapnel sort of start peppering your back as you're in there. And you sort of turn around and just see basically the entire turbine shit itself, and a whole bunch of gears and shrapnel sort of comes fluttering out back into the vents on your end.
It's
and
Christmas!
And you all sort of start to feel the storm begin to subside. There is this almighty sort of psychic shriek within your head
Uh-oh.
as something that Blargs had earlier detected outside the wall begins to, you feel it sort of cry out in anger more than, it's not like anguish, it's more just like this bolt of pure fury. And the guy in the suit flicks this image back at you again.
Swim away, swim
and
away.
then and you see him sort of, he points at all of you and starts pointing up.
And go, I'll catch up.
Well, it's your turn. So you turn around and feel the walls on the side of the. Is that the right map? You feel the walls over here part, and you can see a giant presence come back through there. And you can sort of see it sort of moving across slowly, and it's moving sort of with furious purpose towards you. And all of you can see it now, this shadowy thing sort of moving its way through the walls over there. You've collected the Garaland, you've managed to get the lids back on the jars. What do you do? Do you stand and fight, or do you run?
We're running. I'm not confident of
Okay.
fighting this thing, we're running.
Okay, you notice the walls around you are starting to sort of liquefy and desolidify now that you've killed the power source of this thing. So, to get what I'll need all of you to do to get out of here, it'll be a speed check to sort of escape this place while being pursued. It'll be a sort of series of them. So first you're going to have to push up through the sort of first floor from where you are and push through 2 layers of the water. So I'll get a speed check from all of you to do that. I'll do this all as a collective action for now. I figure you're all trying to run up. So yeah, speed check difficulty, if you're all sort of pushing on at once, difficulty 3 to sort of swim to the surface.
Someone messaged the captain. Need emergency evac.
Yeah, while we're moving, I'm actually calling up IASA.
You get IASA sort of communicating through, and he says, "We don't know what you've done, but it seems to be subsiding."
Yeah, we need evac now. We're being chased by a big beastie.
A beastie? What sort of beastie?
It might be the Moyag.
And you just see him sort of, you sort of, through his voice, you just hear this, and then he goes, "Storgy, dive, dive!" Okay, so you, I'll get the rolls to, the speed rolls to start swimming.
I think Blarg's rolled. You got
Come
it?
on.
Yeah, I've got Blargs. Difficulty 3.
Shit.
I'm fine.
I'm experiencing that.
What was your second roll?
What
I
do you
didn't
mean?
see that. I only saw the 1d2. What'd you get?
It's might not have shown up for you. I got a 6 and a 1.
Ah, yeah. Reroll it.
Come on. Dice don't fail me now. I have 3 more experience. I hoarded it in case of these encounters. Thank you.
Oh, that's much better. Okay, you're fine.
So you all sort of push up through the collapsing structure that's collapsing around you. You sort of move past, and you see the big guy sort of following behind you. He's just following you in his escape. And as you swim up, you sort of see the walls. You go through the turbine room, and on your left you can see the room with the jellyfish, and you can see the wall between you start to sort of. You can see it sort of thinning like a soap bubble almost, and the jellyfish within are sort of wafting slowly towards you as you swim up, and you just keep sort of pushing and swimming up until you break through what had been the top of the structure, the first surface that you landed on. You sort of push your way through the ever-thinning membrane and rip a hole in it as you swim up. And you all sort of swim up and get up above it, and you can sort of see up above it. From the right, from your right, where was over here, you can see a sort of giant presence sort of ripping its way through the wall. And who was slowest? Blargs, as you're at the back, you sort of turn around and look back at it because you're sort of swimming behind everyone. And you see the figure in the helmet just sort of look up directly at you and scream at you all psychically again. So now I'll get another speed. Oh, Iaza's in your ear saying, "We're almost there. You'll just have to hang on for another 15 seconds or so for us to get to depth." I'll get another speed roll from all of you to keep swimming.
Okay. Cool. I'm fine.
Oh dear.
15. Going well so far.
Haha, good enough.
Relax.
May I perhaps use one of my esoteries and just gravity propel myself faster away without having to swim?
Yes. So that will. I think that'll actually just. I'll still get a speed roll from you, but that'll drop the difficulty. It'll count as. It'll count as 2 assets, so you only need a hit of 3. There's still a chance of something interfering with you, but yeah, it's only difficulty 1 for you, pretty much.
Something's going. Thank God I had those because I'm rolling terribly.
Okay, so
difficulty 1. You still would have made it either way.
True.
So Scrappy, you sort of redouble your effort and just keep swimming. And Blargs, you're not going to be the last in touch behind here, and you just sort of start. It's almost like jumping underwater is where you're at the moment. You manage to get a. You manage to get a foothold. You manage to get a foothold on one of the remaining surfaces and just sort of put all your jumping skills into use. And you think you're doing great, but then you just see Elendar sort of upside down, sort of. Elendar's going backwards. He's going, feet first, upwards, and just falling sort of straight up past you.
I still have the first.
Well, you actually shoot. Elendar, you've actually done this so successfully that you're just falling sort of straight up, and you almost you see the submachine sort of come down past you, and you almost miss it. No, you've almost missed it. So I'm going to have to get a speed roll for you to sort of grab onto it. Otherwise, you're shooting all the way to the top by yourself.
Screw it. I could potentially just power stream myself all the way to the surface if it takes me less than a few hours. Oh, shit.
11, is that enough?
So you sort of you go past the submachine and you don't quite hit it, but you sort of skid along the side of it and you sort of grasp out to it trying to grab onto something before the suckers on your hand sort of just go and attach you to it. You feel a wrench, almost like your arms, like it sort of just wrenches your arm as you go, but it holds true. And you sort of start like moving your way across the surface of the submachine, sucker over sucker. I'm going to... so, Scrapper and Blargs, you're going to need to also do one last speed roll for me. Elendar's made it. But yours will be to successfully get inside the airlock of the submachine. The big guy is also...
oh, God.
Scrapper, I'm willing to spend experience on you to help you succeed.
hang on.
It's okay, I can do it.
Wait. So the two of you sort of push up towards it, and Blargs, you're just powering up now. You've got this swimming thing in hand. You're just shooting upwards, and Scrapper, you are sort of trying to push after him, but whether it's the fact that you're not as physically strong as Blargs, or you're tired out from all the combat stuff, you sort of start feeling yourself sort of failing as you sort of try and get up towards it, and you feel like the effort's almost like leaving you out of breath. You feel you're getting caught.
Sorry, I'll let you finish.
You feel like you're getting there until you feel something grab you, and you feel for this horrible second that the Moyag or one of its minions has got you, until you realise what's actually got you. It's the big guy. He's sort of grabbed you in one hand and has just pushed up past you. He's a much better swimmer than you are. And has moved up to the submachine, just following where Blargs has gone, and he grabs the hatch on the outside and pushes you in after him before crawling up inside you. You signal, Iaza, you feel him speak in your ear, and he goes, "Are you in?"
We're in. Get moving now.
emergency surface! And you feel the whole sort of submachine start lifting and shooting up, surfacing as fast as possible. The turbulence around it as it moves up, and the turbulence, the collapsing fort and everything, you sort of feel around the water, and you feel the submachine sort of wrenching, and you hear these metallic noises as it flexes and wrenches underwater and moves up to the surface before it moves through this thing of turbulence. You're sort of all thrown around until it moves up to a sort of calmer area, and you can see through the sort of viewports in this part of the submachine that the water's starting to get lighter within there. The airlock begins to cycle as the water in it starts draining out. So there's the three of you in there. You managed to get inside while it was moving up, Elendar. It starts to the water in there starts to drain before it's left the three of you and the big guy all just sort of sitting on the edge of this airlock, sort of breathing heavily and panting at one another.
I'm just kind of on
Just
the
like-
ground because I can't actually stand up yet.
Can you breathe?
That is a good question.
Because if you can't, at the moment, if you're still in squid form, you technically can't breathe air, can you?
Well, it's
So
squid form similar to that squid lady that we met in Harmouth, and she could breathe air.
Yeah,
so-
but didn't you set something up as well, which gave you the gills, I think?
So what it does is, as the air sort of starts to get back in there, for you, Scrapper, you're within the membrane, and you can sort of breathe as normal. The oxygen exchange is still working. Blargs, you're still within the suit with your supplies. Ellen, you're having it's hard to breathe, like because you're trying to take air into gills, and you've got a bit of a choking sensation, but it's not killing you. You are getting air. It's just tough.
Alright, cool.
So, Scrapper, as you sort of move up and you're sort of sitting in this airlock and you're getting towards the surface, you all feel the submachine break the surface and sort of bob there for a second. And Ayeza gets back in touch with you and he says, "We're scanning the surface. We can't feel anything down there. There's nothing moving. Like it's all we can't sense anything. There's too much turbulence." And you get, for the first time since you've started wearing it, you get a signal from Shonai as she sort of starts peeling herself off of you and reforming sort of in the airlock, sort of standing there. She looks over at Elendar and then looks at all of you and says, "I will get in touch with my ship and see if I can, see if we can do a deeper scan." And she sort of, you see her sort of, put her hand to her ear, although you think that this is a gesture just for the rest of you. She starts communicating with her ship. You think she's doing this just to make you more comfortable around her.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "We can't detect anything. It appears that the structure on the bottom has disappeared."
Well, we figured out what was causing that storm at least. I'm saying breathless and just chuckling. Sort of I can't believe we just got out of that kind of situation.
The big guy sort of looks at you all and projects, and you get the feeling it's like a question of Moyag swimming away. It's like a black and white image, and he's sort of asking you if you think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know. I basically just look at him and just sort of give sort of a I don't know sort of look with my arms up like that.
He sort of, and then he looks sort of over at Elendar, and at the gills on his neck, and sends you and Blargs an image of the gills. It's another question, is he okay?
Um, yeah, maybe. I'll see how I am in, yeah, few hours, assuming Frund was accurate, which I'm not hopeful.
I can always half flood the compartment if you like.
Uh, get me a bowl.
So
Blargs, take off your helmet.
Yeah, I got no better use for it. I'll give him my helmet.
Yep, there you go. There's your bowl.
So you fill up the helmet with water and just sort of dunk your head in it and sort of keeping here up to gill height. You're still sort of communicating with the other guys, but this feels much better for the moment.
He's got his head dunked in water. He's just like, this is much better.
Iasa sort of cracks the other hatch of the airlock and comes through and says, "I think you boys just had a lucky escape." And then he sees the big guy and says, "I agreed to take 3 passengers, not 4. Who's this?"
A prisoner who was there.
He sort of repeats the series of images that he'd showed you earlier, and the ones which he'd shown you of how he's imprisoned and he's gone. And Iasa sort of responds and says, "Oh well, I've been in many brigs in my time, but never one that deep. I think you're very lucky to be alive." And the big guy sort of looks at him for a second, and then just sort of, you get a sort of feeling of yes from him, a feeling of assent from him. And Shania says, "The whaleboat is just up ahead. We should make our way there and just make sure that everything's clear." So Iasa calls back to Storchy and says, gives him his bearings order, and the submarine starts sort of slowly moving. It's puttering along the surface towards the whaleboat. As it gets close, you see the Shunai's crew sort of out and moving about on the nets out of it, and sort of throwing you a line as you come closer and getting within it, and you all sort of clamber on board and back in there. Iasa follows with you. Shania leads you back up into the top city, except for you, Elendar. You're still sort of sitting there with your head in a bucket.
I can't walk. Wait, I can hover. I can do this.
Yeah, he can hover. So he's hovering in a squid form with his head dunked in a bucket.
And you do this for a
an
moment.
Interesting sight.
And Shania sort of turns around and looks at you before sort of pointing at 2 of her men and gesturing into the city somewhere. They wander off and they come back with a bathtub.
Oh, look at that.
And they're sort of carrying this bathtub, and they dip it into the water and then bring it up next to you and sort of manhandle you into it and plonk you into it. And then 4 of them sort of grab it under a shoulder and sort of follow you along with the others, while you've still got your head in this bucket in a bathtub.
Okay. I was just gonna hover myself over there with my head in a bucket, but I kind of like this.
So she brings you up. She brings you up to her tower, upon the top, and thanks you all. And she asks for a small sample of the Garaland just for her research.
Yep, I'll take a bit out of the amount the jar I was going to give to Frund, because he doesn't need a full jar. We do.
Sure. And she says, she thanks you for thing, and she says, in my culture where I come from, we feel that no gift should be given ungiven. So, in return, I have some items that from my deeper collection that I may give to you. And she sort of digs around in a couple of chests and pulls out a couple of ciphers. So the first thing she pulls out is a pair of tendril gloves. And she sort of explains to you, these are two they're almost like rubber gloves, but you can see on them they've got these sort of traceries of sort of circuitry and light. And when it's activated, you can produce a 3-meter tendril of solid light from your palms. It's a pair of gloves, and use them to sort of grab and manipulate objects at a distance. The second item that she brings up for you is actually an artifact. And the artifact is actually, it looks like a sort of orb of water. It looks like something she's collected on her travels. It's this orb with a sort of slightly tacky gelatinous surface, and within it looks like there's a gelatinous creature living inside. And what this will do is if you sort of crack the shell on it and extract some of the mucus from the creature inside, if you slather it onto you, it sort of dries into a hard shellac after about 10 minutes, and which provides protection against wind and light. And if you activate this armor when you're wearing it, you can also turn it back into a liquid form, which will decrease the difficulty of speed and might for 1 hour. So it acts as a light armor. Basically, you can slather on you the goo from this thing to act as a light armor. But if you re-wet it, it'll make your might and you'll lose its armor properties, but make might and speed checks easier for an hour. So that's called a mesoglia gloss. I'll copy that description because it's quite complex. And finally, the third item that she presents to you, sort of as thank you for helping her clear the storm, is a where are we? Is a thing called a where are we? No, it's not that. It's a small syringe that's filled with some sort of it looks like a fluorescent light in it. And she explains that when you inject this syringe into yourself, it'll make you fluoresce. It'll make your entire skin fluoresce for an hour, and you'll give off light equivalent to daylight. I'll get you that description as well.
Okie dokie.
So that's there. It actually, yeah, will modify your genes for an hour. Okay. Where are we? So for making the making your way through the underwater fortress, I'm going to give you all some experience. Where are we? It has no share. Okay, so for discovering the for finding a way to adventure underwater safely, well, relatively safely, and adequately preparing yourself for this voyage, I'm going to give you all 2 experience for that. For venturing underwater and making your way through the underwater maelstrom safely and making your way to the lair, there's another 2 experience each. For finding the Garalan and surviving your encounter with Moyag, I will give you all, and also rescuing the big guy. I will give you all 6 experience.
Wow.
That's actually supposed to be quite tough. And then for discovering an artifact, or even though you're given it by Shania, for being given an artifact and experience it, I'll give you all an extra 1 experience.
Cool.
Wow.
That's crazy. Okay.
Power.
So that's 11 all up. But that was quite a long adventure. You actually made your way through that last bit of it a little quicker than I expected, which is
And
good.
I think that's what happens when copious amount of explosives.
I think it's what happens when Blarg starts blowing walls apart. I think that's absolutely right.
So we
should
give Blargs more grenades? Is that
We
what
could
you're
give
saying?
them rocket-powered punches.
I'm sure I could
So
make one
what-
for him.
So I might actually call it there for this evening, just because that's the extent to which I've prepared, and that's a nice sort of fitting end to this adventure. When we come back in a fortnight, you'll be free to make your way back to shore and hopefully make your way back to the Devola.
That's
Huzzah!
going to be a journey all itself, because
Yeah, that's going to take us a while to get back.
It's been a while since you've been there.